Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and I have a passion for empowering others to take responsibility for their careers. Yes, I've written several books on owning your career and am loving hosting this podcast. This podcast is for you if you're willing to make a shift to the driver's seat in your career. We feature leaders who inspire, empower, and motivate you for consistent career action for results. Please continue to join us every Sunday when a new episode is released. Let's get into this week's show. Hello, everyone. It's Simone Morris, host of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Would you believe it? We are at the end of season 11. I hope you have had a delightful time enjoying the episode and the guests that have joined us. Today, I looked at the statistics, and would you believe it? We've got 181 episodes. That is a lot of episodes, a lot of free content on owning your career, on how to be in the driver's seat. So be sure to go out and look at our library of resources on episodes that you can access. So I want to thank the guests from this season. Got a list here. Here are the people that graced us with their presence on season 11 of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Fran Hauser, Rebecca Wilson, Lisa Sensitz, Rumi Singh, Christopher Bailone, Jonah Shook, Ramon Ray. I had a tribute episode this season to the late David Kim, Nancy Dadia, Cheryl Green, and then we wrapped up the season with Dawn Kelly. So there are some terrific episodes out there for you to get your fill of, again, being in the driver's seat in your career. I always remember, and if you've been listening since season 1, you will have heard me say that my manager said to me, your career is your responsibility, Simone. And as such, I have kept that in mind. And I hope that you are keeping that in mind as well on your journey. We are going to be taking a hiatus and coming back to you in early 2024. Stay tuned for more information around that. We take a rest. We do some evaluation of what's working well with the podcast and what are opportunity areas. Quite frankly, I would like to hear a bit more from you on what you're enjoying from the podcast. Like I said, we're in season 11. We're wrapping season 11 and we're moving forward with season 12. And I want to hear from you. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a survey in the show notes. There'll be a survey that you can take to give us some feedback on the podcast. What you like, what would you like to see? Who are guests that you'd like to see come to the podcast and share their leadership story? I thought while we were on hiatus, it would be terrific if you would continue to, number one, listen to the podcast. I want to share the top 3 episodes that are out there just to give you some guidance, and you can search for episodes, but there's 181. You don't want to scroll through all those episodes. So let me point you to some episodes. There is an episode from Marie Mann, also Dr. Hope Umansky, and Bhavna Bartolf. So check out those episodes and get your fill, get inspired, motivated, and ready to take action on your career. Also, when we're on hiatus, I'd love it if you would pick up my books and support me as I continue on the journey of educating and teaching others how to amplify their voices, how to take ownership of their career, and how to be in the driver's seat. And so that means my book, 52 Tips for Owning Your Career, that is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, on our website, the 52 Tips for Owning Your Career website. You can grab a autographed book from that website, but it also points you to other places that you can pick up the book. I also am excited about the Power of Owning Your Career book, because this book actually started the podcast. It was me writing this book several years ago, the book, The Power of Owning Your Career, that is, and me writing it and feeling like I wanted to continue the conversations with leadership stories on what it takes to be in the driver's seat. So be sure to pick up the book, The Power of Owning Your Career, as well. That's out there. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody who wants some support in strategizing. It could be a one-off session, or it could be, a longer career coaching relationship. So if you are, in fact, interested in that, you can set up some time with me, Simone, and you can do that at careerbreakthroughcall.com. Again, we'll put that in the show notes so that you have that readily available for you. I continue to enjoy the podcast conversations. They're fuel. I like to think of it as fuel. If you think about it, you could, there's 52 weeks. You could potentially have a couple years worth. Each week you could listen to one of our podcast episodes and get inspired and take action and make a plan for your career. That would be a wonderful thing to do. There's more to come, more exciting guests. I will do more real talks, sharing my story, my journey, my insights with you, the audience. I'm pleased to see that we remain international, and thank you to the people who are listening outside of the United States. We appreciate your support. And I am noticing that we are getting more requests from people outside of the United States to be a guest on the podcast. And I think that's good to build your cultural competency as well as your global awareness, and to see similarities on how people are owning their careers, not just in the United States, but also outside of the United States. So I welcome guests outside of the United States to reach out to be a guest on the show. You can do that if you actually go to my website, SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org, and click on podcast. There is actually a form on that page to apply to be a guest on the show. So we've got that out there, but we welcome your input. We're on Instagram talking about the podcast, as well as LinkedIn, and I also talk about it on Facebook. So there are ample social opportunities to talk about the podcast. If you're a part of our newsletter, we do also send out the podcast as a part of the communications to email subscribers. So feel free to connect with me any which way you'd like to. If you search for the Power of Owning Your Career podcast on Google, you'll find the show. I want to thank you for being a loyal listener. And if you're a new listener, welcome to the show. I'm Simone E. Morris, and I'm the host of the show, as well as a career coach and speaker and author. I've got a lot of and. Anyway, but I continue to be intentional about being in the driver's seat for my career, and I want the same for you. So thank you for listening to season 11. Look forward to season 12 coming to you early next year. And we will stay connected. So like I said, listen to the show, leave reviews wherever you listen to the podcast. We appreciate that. And thank you again for sticking with us. It's been a wonderful season. I've enjoyed myself, and I look forward to the next season. Speak to you soon, everybody. Take good care. Bye-bye. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this week's empowering career story on the podcast. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, be sure that you are subscribing and that you rate and review the podcast. It's so important as we continue to spread the word of career empowerment. In addition, you can head over to the LinkedIn platform and join the Power of Owning Your Career discussion group. There you can have access to the guests who have been on the podcast, as well as others listening to the podcast, as well as myself, where we can continue the conversation. I hope to see you on that platform. You can also email me at pooyc@simonemorris.com if you have a suggestion for guest or a message that you want me to hear personally. Thanks so much, and make it an inspiring, empowering week in your career.